is no us, okay? There will never be an us.
But I have powers. I have a cape. I'm the good guy.
You are a good guy, Hal, but you don't understand. We need to find out why. Hal,
this
just
isn't
take a deep
right.
breath and listen
You're
to me
supposed
for a
to be with me.
Hey guys, Anthony here, and today I want to talk about relationships. For those who want to learn how to differentiate, see the difference between the nice guy, the kind guy, and the bad guy or the bad boy, and learning to see how there is actually more similarities between the nice guy and the bad guy, who are both manipulative in a sense, whose connection and love that they try to form is often self-serving about getting your results in spite of the other person, instead of the girl, instead of the woman that you're with. But it's really just this idea of this video is really observation that I've made in the last, I guess 27 years of life. Insights, observation in myself, where I noticed myself having some nice guy archetypes inside of me that I've had to kind of realize and purge, which funnily was held by somebody close to me who would fit the bad boy, sleeping around, stuff like that. And it's really understanding that the nice guy, kind guy, and bad guy, differentiating the three would help people actually have tips and to observe what it is, how to become one, and how to choose one, whichever one of the three you want. I consider the kind guy, the gentleman. The nice guy and the bad guy are two sides of the same coin, often, because there's this idea of self-service, being turned towards oneself. The bad guy who maybe tries to go through methods to try to get the girl, or it's trying to get some, sleeping around, or it's about feeding the self. And the nice guy also, but it's more manipulative, and often it tries to tell other people in different ways that it's not the bad guy. It doesn't have those egotistical ways. It's pure, it's just nice. A little to differentiate the nice and the kind guy. Often the nice guy is often defining himself in a relationship to not being a bad boy. I'm not a bad guy, right? I'm not this. Instead of a kind guy that has values, honesty, truth, and knows how to keep those values regardless of which woman they're interacting with. They're not trying to mold themselves, to camouflage themselves, to become a chameleon, to try to get something from the other person, which is sometimes a manipulation tactic of the nice guy. They can easily step over their own boundaries, their own values at their own detriment, because they're maybe trying to get with the girl or trying to get their interest. The nice guy can often be a mask that someone wears, a mask of non-offensiveness, non-threatening. I'm an ally, male feminist. But they still behind, it's like they either a lack of awareness or they're subconsciously still trying to get their own self-serving pleasures. It's about getting the trophy. So I want to talk about the bad guy real quick. So the bad guy, I feel like our modern dating has really created this environment where the way we form a relationship is toxic. It's quick, it's self-serving, it's fast, getting now, right now. How do I get there as quick as I can, right? And there's a psychotic aspect to it. I want to play that Jordan Peterson clip right now.
That means that it's advantageous to psychopathic men.
Right, dark triad types.
Well, exactly, because, the hallmark of psychopathy is short-term advantage taken by a given individual without care for anyone else. And it certainly seems to me like dating apps like Tinder. Now, I don't want to call every male who's successful on Tinder a psychopath. I'm not saying that. But I would say that it isn't obvious to me at all that if you're a successful polyamorous male on Tinder, and so that's going to be a very tiny subset of men that are hyper-selected by women, a tiny subset of men who receive almost no rejection, they're set up to learn to be psychopathic because all their interactions with other people can be devoted to short-term sexual gratification with no emotional intimacy or long-term commitment. And that's a hell of a training ground as far as I'm concerned.
I've actually had one or two people in my life close to me who were kind of like that in their relationship. Often sleep around, often, being the bad guy that would date around and have all kind of stories and stuff. And you'd realize that at the end of the day, even the bad guy is somebody who actually wants a steady relationship. Because I've seen those two people in my life. I've had like intimate talks with them, or times where their walls would fall down, and you'd understand that either they were somebody who was, you know, a romantic before, you know, they believe in romance, and then they were hurt or betrayed by somebody, and that they ended up becoming the thing that betrayed them, somebody who cheated on them.
It's every womanizer, every player, every guy juggling 3 broads at the same time is only doing so out of fear. Back in the day, they weren't a player. They liked one girl, just one.
And they gave it up to her, didn't
And
they?
they gave it up to her, that's right. They gave it up to her because they're little romantics back then, and they gave it up to the girl they love, and what happened? They got rocked, or they got crushed, or they got destroyed, they got cheated on, or laughed at, or something, and when they're finished picking up the little pieces of what was once their heart, you know what they said? They all, every single one of them made a vow.
Never to give it up again.
That's right, never to give it up again. But now we're talking about the guys that break hearts occupationally, because believe it or not, originally those cats were the most beautiful and the most romantic of all. And you know what happened? They're the ones that got hurt worst of all.
Because
You recover, but you never get over it. And what happened? When they all recovered, you know what they all said? They all said, okay, I see, all right. If that's how it's gonna be, I can play that way too. So you see that we are all responsible for the cycle of the vicious circle.
So you're saying you're afraid?
Absolutely. I ain't never get my heart broken again like I did when I was 16.
So it's understanding that where the origin of bad guy is, and often this glamorous thing that we see, you know, this sleeping around isn't really as glamorous as we think, and it's really born from a place of hurt. Now the kind guy. The kind guy is actually somebody that can, again, keep his moral, his interests, his values intact, not try to chameleon themselves to try to get the girl. You know, they can give by nature. I have a story about my girlfriend. 8 years ago, she had a friend, a girl, who had a possibility of dating 2 different guys. You know, there was 2 different guys that were interested in her. And then my girlfriend was actually, because I was a guy close to her, she wanted to give tips to her friend, and she would ask me what should she do and stuff like that. And I was, you know, telling her that she's just be honest with which one she wants and which one she's attracted to and stuff. And you know, she had to reject one of the 2 guys. And actually one of the 2 guys really ended up being the nice guy archetype. Who would, you know, he was being nice to her and stuff like that, and this and that. But you know, the female friend of my girlfriend, she wasn't really attracted physically and stuff. So she ended up saying, you know, I'm gonna be honest, I'm just being honest and saying I'm not interested in you. But as soon as she said no, it's like he blew up and he started insulting her. This, you're that. Oh, you were playing me and blah blah blah. And it's this aspect of almost like the kindness that he was giving had 2 sides. It's like, okay, I give you this kindness, it's transactional. Now you should be giving me something back. There was this entitlement of, I was expecting something behind all that kindness. That's not kindness, because a kind guy can give without expecting. It's by nature of him being knowing when you do something good, it's fulfilling, and it's hoping for the well-being of the other person. You know, knowing, prioritizing the well-being of the other person is what separates the kind guy from the 2 other guys. The kind guy can actually take a no and say, okay, that's good, you know, and maybe be heard and be, you know, I was hoping, but they won't actually try to go through this egoic guilt trips. When I think about the kind guy, there's always one anime character that actually comes to mind. Somebody who's truly kind, but also having some aspect that you maybe would call possessed by the bad guy, right? Because in stories, often the hero and the what attracts women to the bad guy is there are some his heroic attributes that is similar to the bad guy and the kind guy that the nice guy may lack. For example, the capacity for violence that can be used as a bad guy, but also as the kind guy, right? The hero that tries to protect. It's not somebody that says, no, violence should never be used, but somebody who's willing to use violence to protect instead of violence to hurt. And confidence, right? Something that both the bad guy can have and the kind guy, but the nice guy often lacks. And there's somebody that I know fits really the kind guy archetype in anime. They're often the main character. It's Tanjiro. He's really somebody that can be strong, but he's kind also. He's not nice, he's really kind. He gives of himself, he gives to his family, he provides for his family, he helps, he protects, right? He fights to protect. He takes care of others. And here are some few solutions that I've realized in my own life that have helped me, you know, kind of get away from the nice guy archetype and truly be kind. It's understanding that there's this dynamics often between the nice and the bad guy. or there's this kind of chain between the two. There's this energy that each give each other. The bad guy doesn't want to be the nice guy. The nice guy doesn't want to be the bad guy. You know, I'm not. Oh, if she only stopped dating those bad guys, she would get with me. She know, and stuff like that. And it's understanding that sometimes the nice guy can pedestalize women, right? And actually, there's this scene to illustrate really this example of somebody who's nice, who goes over his values and morals, or what he should do to impress a girl. And that's this character in the movie Stardust. You know, he's I work at his job, and he has people in line, and then there's this girl that he's interested with, and suddenly, instead of doing his job, he says, oh, the girls ask, oh, can I skip over the line? You know, you're trying to use her allure to kind of take advantage of the situation instead of waiting like everybody else. And it's like, oh, he folds immediately. He says, oh, of course, yeah, you can. And then everybody's looking at, why are you letting this girl in front, right? You should stay true, honest, and, you know, not be fair for everybody. But he threw the concept of fairness away because he thought that if he was being nice to her, you know, by giving away his values and his morals, then she was going to like him back. But what it did instead, it made this, it kind of maybe subconsciously shows the girl that you're somebody that falls towards your morals. Because when you think about relationships, women want somebody who can stay strong. A woman actually likes, you know, confidence in a man, somebody who can stay true to their morals. Because when it comes to bearing children, you want to stay safe, knowing somebody who can provide, who can protect you, right? Who can be your rock. So those are little insights, things that women realize and say, oh, that's, you know, he folded over there, you know, a little bit of allure. Or maybe if somebody or some other girl would do that to him, you know, he'd fold too. So solutions. Well, actually, for somebody who may recognize some aspect of nice guys inside of him, maybe actually learning, trying to separate the hay from the wood. I don't know what's to separate all. Look at the bad guy and actually notice, try to see, okay, maybe there are some good advice that they could give. Because I know in my life, I had a stepbrother who, you know, he kind of fits the bad guy archetype. He used to fit it. And he would actually take us to, you know, go talk to girls to the malls to kind of break this fear of girls. And doing that, at first, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But it was really tremendous help, right? He made me understand the importance of confidence and self-assurance. And just talking to people. And this, I realized that there was this pedestalization I was doing with women. Whereas, oh, she's like so, and that kind of brought them down and realized that, you know, women are also human. And it's not this idolatry of women, but just this, it brought them down to a point where I could actually relate and just connect to them normally, right? So this practice confidence and self-assurance, and I realized that, you know, I like actually to banter with people, with women, and it's not that scary. You know, there's often this fear that gets in the way, but yeah, and it gives you the assurance to actually go and maybe test out, trying to, oh, I'm gonna go talk to that girl, I'm interested, I'm gonna tell her I'm interested, you know. I'm not gonna try to play her friend for a long time and hope that as much as we come in contact, she will eventually take me from being a friend to a potential boyfriend. No, just learning to be honest and say, instead of saying, I don't want a relationship to be broken because we're friends, but say, no, I'm interested in you. I want to get to know you better and actually attempt to bridge a gap. Anyways, another solution is to learning not to try to control the outcome. Because sometimes, you know, decided to, okay, those are my values. Those are my interests, regardless of if it's an interest that's popular amongst women. Come as you are. This is who I am, my personality. You know, some personalities can get better, you can improve, but my values, my interest. This is what I like doing. And coming as that person when you interact with the other, and not suddenly trying to morph, like metamorph, and try to fit them, but staying true, even if it ends up rejecting them. I mean, that might actually be a good thing. You know, maybe not a match, right? It's not at the end of the world. She says no. And finally, just practicing giving for the sake of giving, just being compliments, things, time to people, and not expecting, you know, I'm gonna give of something to someone, you know, I'm gonna give some food, and not expecting anything. And realizing, sitting down, telling you, oh, how does it feel, and realizing it, and this emotion when you start giving and practicing that, and you feel that joy, that peace, and it's learning how to move with that feeling around, even when you're in a relationship, that sometimes, you know, not to get abused by other people, shower the other with gifts, hoping that they like me back, you know, but just saying, oh, I like being with that person, I like just doing good to them. Sometimes that's how we form relationships, connections with people. Yeah, so that's pretty much all for today. Anyways, that's all for today. Peace.